Hey everyone! Today I wanted to make a card featuring this beautiful 3D embossing folder by Tonic Studios. It is called Winter's Veil Baroque Snowflake Embossing Folder, and it's just gorgeous. There's so much texture on it being a 3D folder. And I also have this Snowflake Wishes cutting die by Creative Expressions. So I'm just going to stick my panel in the embossing folder, line it up, and go off screen to emboss that. And then I will be right back. So this embossed beautifully, as always. Look at the detail and the texture on that panel. It's just so pretty. Anyways, I'm going to be using a mixture of spritzes and sprays, all kinds of distress mica spray, distress oxide spray, distress spritz. I've really been having fun playing with these lately. So first I'm going to come in with weathered wood distress spritz. Just giving that a bit of a shake. Look at how pretty that is. And then next, which one am I choosing next? I think I'm going to go for the Mermaid Lagoon Distress Oxide Spray. Give that a quick shake and add some of that beautiful color on there. And next I'm going to come in with the Antiqued Bronze Distress Mica Spray and give a little bit of a coppery shimmer. And then I'm going to come back to some Distress Spritz, and I'm going to use Walnut Stain. Add a little more color on there. And then I believe I'm going to finish it up again with some more of the weathered wood. Okay, let's pull that out of the splatter box and see what it looks like. Got some gorgeous color and shine on there. So I'm going to go off screen and I'm going to dry it with my heat tool. So now that that is dry, I'm coming in with some Recollections foil cardstock paper. And I was just flipping through to see which color I thought matched the best. So I do look at a few different colors, but then I go back to that first one that I had chosen. And I am going to use that to die cut these Snowflake Wishes. So I'm gonna get that out of the packaging and I'm going to take it over to my die cut machine off screen and be back. Okay, so that cut out beautifully. So I'm just going to line that up on the panel and just see what I think of that and decide what else I wanted to add to that. So I chose some Snowflake cutting dies from Recollections, and I'm going to cut them out of that same foil cardstock. And again, these cut out really well. I use this set quite a bit for Christmas cards. I only used the 3 smallest snowflakes out of the set. I believe there's 5 in that set. So now I'm just going to lay the snowflakes on the panel with the sentiment and see what I think of it. When I was making this, all I really had in my mind was that cutting die with just the sentiment die and the embossing folder and some sprays. And I had no clue how it was going to turn out, but I think these snowflakes are a really nice addition. So now it's time to see what this panel looks like on the card base, because the panel was slightly smaller than the card base, but not small enough. Like I knew I needed to trim it more because it didn't have an even border around it. So I'm just going to take all of those dies off of there and kind of play with the placement and see how much of border I want. Do I want a white border? Do I want something else? But anyways, I do need to trim this panel down a little bit smaller. So I'm just bringing my sentiment back in just so that I don't cut the panel too small. I want the sentiment to still fit nicely on that inked up panel. So I'm bringing out my paper trimmer and I'm just going to trim this down just a little bit. And I rarely measure when I'm at this stage of things. I just tend to eyeball it. So I'm checking the card panel against the base there to see, do I have it trimmed enough? And I definitely need to trim a little bit more. Okay, so that size I believe is good. It just gives a very small border around the panel. But then I thought, I wonder how that would look with the metallic cardstock behind it instead of having a white border. It just would bring in that sentiment and those snowflakes so much more. So I am checking to see how much needs to be trimmed off of this panel. And then I decided the easiest way for me to do this, because that metallic panel isn't completely straight on all the edges, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to line it up on the card base itself, and I'm going to glue it down and trim it after. So I've got my Barely Art glue, and just holding that panel in position, I am going to add glue to the card base, making sure to get it right to the edges. And then I will flatten that down, adhere that nicely, and then I will flip it around and glue the little bit more delicate side off. But there's still enough, thankfully I left enough room, like I didn't cut right to the edges with those snowflakes, so there is enough room to have a nice little border around there. So now I can see what needs to be trimmed off, and that one side I left straight, glued it straight to the panel, so I only need to trim the 3 edges. So this side here just had a tiny little bit that needs to be trimmed off. And then this one has a decent little strip there, which I will keep that strip to use on another card somewhere. And then this third side also just has just the tiniest little smidgen that needs to come off. So that was a nice easy fix, and look at how pretty that looks. And now to add the panel on. It just has a tiny little metallic border around the edge, which is just perfect. So I'm just going to line that up. Make sure that I've got an even border around. And then I will use my Barely Art glue. It's taken me a bit, obviously, to get that lined up, but here we go. Here comes the glue. Add it to the edges. And then once that piece is good and stuck down, I will flip it around and add glue to the next little bit. And adhere that last little piece. And then I believe all I need to do next is glue down the sentiment and the snowflakes. So again, I will line them up so I know exactly where I want them to go. And then I can start gluing them down. So I Get my reverse tweezers out, and I'm going to start with the largest snowflake. I'm thankful for my Bearly Art glue with the precision tip, because some of these spots are really tiny. Just positioning that. Making sure that's stuck down really well. It is being stuck down on a 3D embossing folder, so I was just really making sure to press all the little pointy ends. And then I'm going to work on the sentiment. I should have maybe sped part of this up because it is a little bit time consuming getting the glue on every little bit of the sentiment, but I often do my videos sped up, and once in a while I like to just do one in pretty much in real time, just so you can see it really did not take me that long to make this card. I think I really only cut out the time for drying the panel with the heat gun and the die cutting. I think that's all. Anyways, this just about has all the glue on it. I'm just going to position that. And give that a nice little press down just to make sure every little bit is adhered. And then I will work on the next snowflake. This one's little, so it didn't need too much glue. Okay, and as that one is adhering to the panel, I will start applying glue to the last snowflake. All right, this last one is ready to go on. Again, give some good pressure. Make sure all the little points of the snowflake are adhered to that 3D embossing folder. And then this card is done. Look at how pretty that is. Look at that shine from that metallic cardstock, the shimmer from the mica spray and the distress spritz. Just all the color in there. I love it. Looks even nicer in person. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great day.